The Trump administration is in a state of collapse, and I mean every single person in this Trump administration is in a state of collapse. Obviously, we know that Donald Trump is in cognitive and physical decline, but the man behind the scenes pulling the strings is the one really losing his mind. And this time, as he does so often now, he's doing it in public. Of course, I'm talking about Stephen Miller, who just went on Fox to rant and rave and defend Donald Trump's death threats against Democratic members of Congress, and it was a complete meltdown that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the meltdown that Stephen Miller had on so many topics, and I just can't wait to make fun of him, I want to start with what Jessica Tarlov said on the same network, but she actually spoke some truth as it relates to Donald Trump's attacks on these veterans in Congress.
Jessica, do you agree that a video calling on the military writ large to disobey the commander-in-chief's orders is in fact seditious?
No, I don't. And I don't think anyone in their right mind would agree with that. The video is explicit that you should not obey unlawful orders, that actually your sworn duty is to the Constitution, not to a commander who's asking you to do illegal things. We've talked about this now 3 days in a row. So 3 days in a row, I'm going to say it would have been more ideal if there was specificity about the type of orders that you are hearing from lower ranking officers that they're concerned about. So if that's Venezuelan boat strikes, like why did General Halsey resign from the Southern Command?
You don't know.
But that's why I said why. It's in the form of a question. You're right. He just wanted to spend more time with his family.
You don't know if people are even...
Leave his family out of it, Jessica.
Don't make me talk about Todd Starnes. Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump addressing that meeting of generals and saying, you're going to have to help us clean up these blue cities, those kinds of things. But to Greg's point about, you shouldn't be elevating these people. They are doing exactly the wrong thing in Greg Gutfeld's mind, because now the face of the Democratic Party is Mark Kelly. It's not Zohran Mamdani. You have Donald Trump smiling at Mamdani, and you have Mark Kelly, who's a decorated veteran, who is married to basically like the equivalent of an American saint in Gabby Giffords, who's won a purple state, has hugely high favorabilities, and now people are talking about the fact that the Democratic Party is represented by a guy like that. I'm personally thrilled. That is what my party is, the party of Mark Kelly's out there.
So this was a political move.
No, it's just a nice afterthought that we're getting a bounce out of it, right?
You're getting a bounce out of this? You look exhausted talking about it 3 days in a row. And you're complaining you have to do an FBI interview, which, if
I'm not complaining.
Truthful, you might have to go to prison.
Pete Hegseth is spending his days melting down online instead of being over in the UAE negotiating peace between Ukraine and Russia. The Secretary of the Army is the one doing that. Pete's saying, I think your medals are in the wrong order, even though it's supposed to be a mirror image or something I read on the internet. I don't know. I'm not a veteran. But I'm just saying that I doubt that Mark Kelly, a guy who's even gone to space, 4 times, knows which way his medals are supposed to go.
He doesn't know how they...
Maybe he doesn't tell him.
You know what? Maybe
Donald Trump is almost doing the Democrats in Congress that he has attacked a favor. I certainly don't want to say that all publicity is good publicity when it comes to Donald Trump putting your life in harm's way. But I don't think Mark Kelly is very scared of Donald Trump. He's called him out as the little bitch boy that he is a couple times now on air. So I don't think he's really all that worried. And he's certainly not worried about Pete Kedbreath, like getting all drunk and angry and tweeting gibberish, typo-ridden nonsense at him. But yeah, this is just an opportunity for Democrats to once again hammer home, as Jason Crow did perfectly this weekend, and we talked about it, that Donald Trump is committing illegal acts. They want to pretend that it's all lib outrage and we're freaking out and we're losing our minds. But when you're indiscriminately killing people in international waters and you promise to be the no new wars president, yeah, I think we have a reason to be outraged, especially while at the same time you're sending your mass thugs, former Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to patrol the streets. And it is why Stephen Miller, who's really pulling the strings of this all, was losing his mind on Fox in a complete meltdown.
Stephen Miller is the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor. All right, Mr. Miller, what should happen to the seditious 6?
Well, they should be held accountable under the law and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for a seditious conspiracy against the United States of America. This is completely open and shut, straightforward. What is the motivation? Why would 6 members of Congress, selecting specifically for individuals with a CIA or military background, record a carefully written, carefully produced, slickly edited video messaging directly to members of our clandestine services and our armed forces, telling them to disobey orders from their superiors, telling them that they should individually determine whether an order is legal or illegal and defy it. Individuals who are exercising life and death power. The CIA engages in covert missions all over the world involving life and death decisions. The armed forces launches life-taking missions time and time again. They carry weapons. They control drones. They control missiles. They work on nuclear submarines. For what purpose would you ever deliver this message? As you said, it's to create a color revolution. It is the CIA playbook for trying to foment insurrection from within the military and within the CIA.
So Stephen Miller wants retribution. Yes, the tiniest little, angriest little, meanest little man in the world wants retribution. Is that a surprise to anyone? No, but Stephen Miller still can't clearly articulate a reason why. What is the sedition? Saying that we should follow the law and getting upset about that only leads me to believe what I already know, which is that you are breaking the law and you want to continue to break the law. But Stephen Miller doesn't want to offer up a cohesive argument. He just wants to be, well, I was going to say hair on fire. I'll say bald head on fire about all of this and pretend that it's the Democrats and their rhetoric that's causing all these issues when Donald Trump is literally threatening to kill these people. And then Stephen Miller, of course, followed it up with another bullshit attack.
The Democrat Party is openly engaged every day in trying to tear down democracy, whether it be judges who are binding the president with unlawful orders, releasing violent criminals back onto the street, trying to cement and protect the illegal alien invasion of America, and now fomenting rebellion inside the ranks of our armed forces and CIA.
It's Democrats tearing down democracy. I always love when they paint this broad brush about the judges. It's always the judges because the judges are the deep state, even though Donald Trump appointed and had confirmed so many judges. It took Joe Biden to like the last few days of his presidency to surpass the record previously set by Donald Trump. So you have installed a lot of the deep state as well, considering you fired everyone and then put in your own fucking idiots to run things into the ground. But are you talking about the Trump judges that you appointed that have struck down your illegal acts? Are those the judges that you're talking about? Stephen Miller clearly doesn't have that tiny little bald head of his screwed on correctly because he's now just making shit up. And again, in an effort to distract.
So when you ask me what I'm thankful for, this Thanksgiving, I praise God every day that Donald Trump is our president. And we've gone from 30% inflation, 20 million illegals, unlimited refugees, violent crime in our cities, to security in our cities, no more illegals, no more refugees, and finally a country that puts American citizens first.
30% inflation? 30%? Is that the number we're doing now? We're doing 30% inflation. So if Joe Biden was at 30% inflation, what percent inflation are we at now, Stephen? I love this idea that everything's fine under the Trump administration. And Trump actually just admitted it in a recent post as he's trying to defend his tanking approval rating, saying that we only have minimal inflation and prices are going down. Do you know what inflation is? It leads me to believe that Trump doesn't actually know what inflation is. If prices are going down, how do we still have inflation? And that's not even to address the 20 million illegals number. This economic theory that MAGA has somehow developed over the past couple of years, that it is immigrants to this country who are essentially a slave labor class, who are paid under the table in cash, who are paid non-living wages, who disproportionately rent. They are not owning homes, and when they do rent, they rent with large groups of people, their families. They're often not like taking up any of this renter's market because they're just moving in with family members already established, trying to seek out a better life in America because that's what this fucking country is about, you bald-headed racist. But this economic theory is insane. It doesn't make any sense. I just can't grapple with it. It doesn't compute. Remember that town in Ohio that Donald Trump said during his debate with Kamala Harris was having all these immigrants the Haitian immigrants that were eating the cats and the dogs, fucking racist. The reason that there was that mass immigration to that town in Ohio was because the business leaders in that town, the factory owners, needed workers, which revitalized their town. And then not only were people working in those factories, but people were driving those new citizens, those new immigrants around. It was just creating jobs. Immigration is deflationary. That is proven. This type of immigration that they complain about is deflationary. They don't make any sense. It's just pure racism. Stephen Miller made that clear right here.
See, what's it all add up to? Why are they engaged in all this? What is their objective here? It's the Somalification of America. In other words, when you see the state of Somalia, that's what they want for America at the end of the day, because it's easier to rule over an empire of ashes than it is for the Democratic Party to rule over a functioning, Western, high-trust society with a strong middle class.
It would be a lot easier, even though it wouldn't, but to buy into the worldview that Stephen Miller wants to preserve his culture and he wants people to look like him, which is just blatant Nazi shit. But like that would be easier to buy into if he didn't look so fucking ugly. What do you want to preserve, Stephen? Why do we want more people looking and acting like you? You're a vile little ghoul. I do not want my country to look like Stephen Miller, to act like Stephen Miller, to hate like Stephen Miller. It's not what America's about. These people have such a fundamental misunderstanding of what this country is for, and it is gross every day. Donald Trump hates America. Stephen Miller hates America. Their attacks on veterans in Congress who have bravely served this country shows that they hate America. They are unpatriotic. Mark Kelly is a real patriot, and he called out Trump, he called out Hegseth, and he called out Stephen Miller right here.
Donald Trump said, I should be executed. I should be hanged. I should be prosecuted. He even went on and said something about go get them. I guess sending a mob to round me and the other folks up. So this is, I think it says a lot more about him than it says about me. He doesn't want accountability. But Rachel, I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be intimidated.
That is what patriotism looks like. Mark Kelly is a real patriot. Mark Kelly is someone who has served this country, who has brought honor and dignity to this country, not just Stephen Miller. If we're in a bald-on-bald competition, Mark Kelly's coming out every single time. It's a bald guy I can get behind. No offense to my bald friends out there. Shout out Larry David. Love you to death. But we're going to keep calling out the bullshit. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.